Hello, my name is Noah Fehrenbach, and this is my presentation on environmental storytelling in video games, using games like What Remains of Edith Finch and Firewatch as references. So, what is environmental storytelling? Environmental storytelling is when the world itself communicates narrative information. Instead of telling the player directly, the game uses objects, lighting, textures, or level design to hint at the story. This approach creates immersion because players feel like they're discovering the story themselves rather than being told explicitly. In this picture, we see a close-up shot of the entirety of the Finch family home for the first time, and can see how the family seemingly outgrew their original house and began expanding up and outward in response. This tells this tells us that the house has likely seen generations of Finch family members. Using objects in architecture. So designers carefully place objects and shape environments to suggest a sort of backstory or emotion. Um, a room filled with personal belongings might hint at a character's personality, or in this case, a damaged environment can show past conflict or tragedy. In this screenshot, we see a burnt down forest in the game Firewatch, and the player doesn't explicitly get told what's happening here or what happened here, but can make references based on the knowledge and understanding, as well as the context of being a lookout over a forest that this part of the forest was likely burned down due to some past tragedy. Engaging players through discovery. Discovery is key to environmental storytelling. Players will pick up on the small details like letters on a desk, toys on a floor, or graffiti on a wall, and these hints will collectively tell the story. By letting the players interpret the meaning behind them, the game encourages curiosity and emotional investment in the world. So there's decently sized spoilers here, so feel free to skip ahead if you'd like. But in Firewatch, Henry, the protagonist, eventually comes up on a skeleton belonging to Brian Goodwin, the missing teenage son Henry learns about earlier in the game. And investigating the scene, the player learns that the tragedy was likely a climbing accident, the effects of which become central to the game's plot. On the other hand, in Edith Finch, the player almost immediately learns of the missing Milton Finch, which sparks the player's curiosity on their disappearance and how it affected the family. What Remains of Edith Finch? In What Remains of Edith Finch, each family member's story is revealed through the environment of their home. Players explore rooms filled with objects, letters, artifacts, each telling a unique story about the character's life and fate. The house itself becomes a narrative guide, encouraging players to discover the family's history on their own. In this gameplay screenshot, we are playing as Edith's brother, Lewis, working at a cannery. Lewis, freshly sober from a major drug addiction, begins daydreaming at work in this memory, which doesn't spell good things considering his precarious proximity to what is essentially a fish guillotine on the right there. And Firewatch uses most of its wilderness setting to communicate the sort of isolation, tension, and emotional depth that being a Firewatch lookout means. Um, Exploring, you discover notes left behind, abandoned campsites, and environmental cues that reveal details about characters or events as part of the story. Throughout Firewatch, Henry comes up on many environmental clues as part of his job to investigate and be a lookout of any crime or danger throughout the forest he overlooks. These clues reveal the story as he comes across them, such as when he finds two pairs of clothes and several empty beer cases while investigating a firework event. Why does environmental storytelling work? Environmental storytelling works because it draws players into the world and allows them to uncover the story at their own pace. It supports immersion, builds emotional depth, and engages the player's curiosity. Players form their own interpretations, which makes the experience more personal and memorable. In Edith Finch, the rooms oftentimes tell a story in and of themselves. A great example of this being the bottom right picture there, Sam and Calvin's room. Sam's half of the room is completely roped off when you enter it, memorializing it in the state it was left, which spells childhood tragedy before the player even reads his last memory. And conclusion. So to sum up, environmental storytelling transforms the game world into a narrator. By exploring spaces, objects, and visual clues, players can experience rich narratives without constant dialogue. Games like What Remains of Edith Finch and Firewatch show just how powerful this technique can be, making the world itself the storyteller. Thank you.